Hello and welcome back to the Flower Barn Homestead. I'm Lily and today I'm going to take you through a week at our microbakery, the Flower Barn. Even though we're only open Fridays and Saturdays, there is always something going on at the bakery. Along with each day involving preparations for our weekend hours, we also teach classes, create recipes for our blog, and also manage our homestead. It may seem busy, but it's the kind of busy that keeps our life peaceful. So let's get into it. Mondays are for grocery shopping, but Tuesday, along with prep, is devoted mostly to our weekly class. This week, that class is our first class on milling your own grains. So I wanted to make the refreshments dedicated to freshly milled grains. That is why I used my fresh milled flour pie crust to make these delicious quiches. I decided to blind bake my crusts in Ellen's house so that we could do a little shop talk while I'm baking and waiting for my crust to come out. You can see me just filling these with beans so that they hold their shape. This is also where you can use pie weights. While I'm waiting for these crusts, me and Ellen are able to go to the porch and watch our kids play. We do have one full-time employee out at the bakery right now just doing some prep work for Friday. But I'm waiting for these to finish blind baking, and then I'm going to go out to the bakery and make the custard for these quiche, and then that is all that I am going to be doing on this Tuesday. If I was going to be working a full day, I would have asked my mom to keep my kids, but because I was just in and out for about 2 hours, I had my kids with me. They stayed with Ellen while I blind baked those crusts, and then they're actually on the porch of the bakery playing while I'm just making this custard. Quiche is such an easy recipe that I feel like is constantly overlooked. If you have a good pie crust recipe, then I definitely suggest adding quiche to your weekly menu. You're really just making a nice smooth custard here with eggs, heavy cream, milk, and some seasonings. And although I'm doing a ham and cheddar quiche recipe, you can really use this custard to mix and match flavors and make whatever quiche suits your family. We get a lot of compliments on how creamy our quiche is, and this is the recipe we use for the bakery. But I think one key tip I have for making a creamy quiche is to use a spoon when you're mixing up the custard instead of using a whisk. A whisk can incorporate a lot of air and make it a little fluffier, which is how some people like it. But if you're looking for a creamier texture, I definitely recommend using a spoon instead of a whisk. Now we're going to add our toppings into our blind baked pie crusts. So I always start with cheese. So no matter what flavors you're doing, putting the cheese down really helps to prevent your crust from getting too soggy. We've already blind baked it, which helps also with that, preventing a soggy bottom. But this is another tip to making sure our crust doesn't get soggy. So then you're going to go ahead and add your meat, or if you're doing an all veggie quiche, this is also where you could add your sauteed vegetables. And then once you have all of those in your crust, you're then going to pour your custard over all of that. These are going to go in the oven at 325 for about 40 minutes. At this time, I actually have to go home for my kids' nap time, but I will be back for the class later. For now, Paige is going to watch over my quiche. Today we're going to be teaching our first class on freshly milled grains. So we're going to be showing people how to bake with grains and also how to mill their own flour. I'm really excited for this class, especially because next week I'm going to be on the Simple Farmhouse podcast, which is the podcast that is hosted by Farmhouse on Boone. I've always loved her YouTube channel, so I'm really excited to go on that podcast, and we'll be talking about freshly milled grains as well as how to start your own microbakery, all that stuff. But I'm really excited to just get to talk with the community about freshly milled grains, see what kind of questions my students have, because I always think that's a really good indicator of what most people are wondering and what kind of questions most people have. So yeah, I will take you along with me, and then we will talk about it on the podcast. Now, to get a little extra energy in me for this class, I'm going to start out with a honey lavender flat white. Ever since we got this espresso machine, we've been obsessed with espresso, trying different lattes, trying different flat whites, which a flat white is really similar to a latte, but it is less milk, so it's a better espresso to milk ratio for me because I like to be able to taste the espresso a little bit stronger than a latte. And I've been really surprised at not how simple making coffee is, but how fun it is. It seems like such an intimidating task, but it really has become a fun and exciting hobby for all of us. No one has enjoyed this as much as my dad though, and really no one can make a latte like him, but I will say I did a pretty good job and this was delicious. Now it's time to finish up the prep work for our weekly class. Like I mentioned, this class is on milling your own grains. So my mom brought her Nutrimill and I brought my Nutrimill Harvest series to show off to our class. And this is me just getting those quiche reheated. Because I made them earlier, I popped them in the fridge to store them, and then I just reheated them before the class. They turned out beautiful, and I cannot believe this crust is made with 100% freshly milled flour. It's really amazing that 15 years ago, my mom went looking for someone to teach her to make bread, and she found someone local who taught her how to use freshly milled grains to make weekly sandwich bread. And we do have that recipe on our blog. But what's really amazing to me is that she had no idea that we were going to have a bakery. She had no idea that later on we would be teaching classes to our community. And yet she became this expert and really the perfect teacher for us to have. So it's really exciting to see all that come full circle, from her finding someone local to teach her to her being able to teach this group of excited students. For this class, we spent our time making 2 different kinds of bread. The first bread is a yeasted sandwich bread. I mentioned it earlier, it's on our blog. And for that bread, you need to learn how to create gluten development with freshly milled flour, which can sometimes be more difficult. The other bread we made was a quick bread, and quick breads are great for fresh milled flour because they don't need too much gluten development. You actually want to minimize the gluten development. So that's why we chose these 2 different breads, to kind of get an idea of how to minimize gluten development to get a nice crumbly quick bread, and then also how to maximize gluten development for a fluffy chewy sandwich bread. The thing I really liked the most about this class is the amount of questions that our students had. They weren't just coming to have a good time, which is a great reason to come to one of our classes. We do have some classes that are really just created more for an experience for our customers, but this class was very specific to learning a skill that they can use over and over again. And so they had so many questions on, how am I going to use this in my daily life? How do I use the mill? How do I convert my recipes? And that's something that we've really started to focus on the blog, and that we've really started to focus on for our own lives. So it's just fun to get those questions and really feel like I was able to answer them. And obviously my mom was there, and she is such a great source on freshly milled grains. If you yourself are really interested in getting into freshly milled grains, I mentioned we have a blog. We really created our blog to coincide with our classes. So you can get on there and I list all the products I like to use to make milling easy, as well as all of the recipes I use each week to utilize my mill and my freshly milled grains. And these 2 bread recipes are on the blog. And these breads really did turn out amazing. I actually don't have video of the final result because we get so busy at the end that I always forget to film the end of the classes. But it was great. We had great questions. We had a great time. And the refreshments were delicious. Moving on to another subject that I am passionate about, cinnamon rolls. I did not film on Wednesday. Wednesday is when we make all of our different doughs. We make focaccia dough, brioche, sourdough, and croissant dough. So all of those are different doughs. Our main dough that we make is our brioche dough recipe. and that is used for our cinnamon rolls, each of our sweet rolls, as well as our Danish. So on Thursdays, we roll all of our cinnamon rolls, pecan rolls, sweet rolls, and whatever roll we're doing for the week. But what we also do, and what takes up the majority of the day, is we laminate dough. And actually, it's my dad who laminates all of our dough. He became very passionate about pastry, and so he is our pastry chef. I know by now you're probably getting sick of seeing me make lattes, but I just find the whole process so aesthetic. I always want to take video of it. And today I'm having a coconut vanilla flat white. Those flavors are just so refreshing during these hot summer months. And I got a slow motion clip of the espresso pouring such a good drip. And I actually never work the coffee station, so I only get practice when I'm making my own lattes, and you'll definitely be able to tell that when you see my latte art. It is very pathetic, but Paige and my dad and Lizzie are all our trained baristas, and they do an amazing job. So although it's not beautiful, I will say it was delicious as usual. A lot of people ask me about working with family and if it's difficult. And while sometimes it can be difficult, it honestly is so much fun. I'm really close to my family. This is my cousin Lizzie, who works for us full time, and my sister Paige is my other full-time employee, and then also my dad, and we're all so close, and we really do have such a fun time together. Watching my dad be really passionate about baking has been a really fun and unique experience for me. Most of my life he worked a full-time job in the tech world, so seeing him change from kind of a computer guy to a full-time farmer and baker has been a really fun and bonding experience for us. And then I had Friday off, so I decided to go to breakfast with my little baby girl, Emmy, to the Flower Barn. We came and we got a lemon blueberry scone, and then I got some footage of the beautiful pastry this morning, and then I went out and said hi to some of our customers. It was a beautiful 72-degree day, so a lot of family stopped by to get some baked goods and to say hi. Fridays are actually a day that we recently added. We used to not be open on Fridays, but because we were in the bakery working on Fridays, we decided we're just going to be open so that we can take customers and orders. And then also on the flip side of the bakery, we're still working and prepping baked goods. So it really just seems like a no-brainer to be open with a limited menu on Fridays. So we do bake some of our baked goods on Friday, and that includes brownies, cookies, our croissants, our plain croissants we bake on Friday so that we can cut them today, and then they're ready to be filled with whipped cream tomorrow. These Danish are baked for Friday morning. We do bake our Danishes fresh the morning of, so tomorrow we'll have a whole other set of Danishes that will be baked, and that's because they don't really hold over great. They're much better the day they're baked. They're much flakier and just so delicious. So we do make sure those are freshly baked morning of. And although espresso drinks are so delicious, there's not much better than a regular plain cup of coffee. We get our coffee from a local roaster, and it's just always delicious. And thank you to Lizzie, who made me an iced coconut vanilla flat white. It was delicious. Well done. My husband wanted me to get some cinnamon rolls, and these are the cinnamon rolls that really started it all, and I still love them. Here we are, 4 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I'm not the first one here. My dad's already been here since 3 a.m., filling the oven full of cinnamon rolls. And here I am drinking a red eye, which is black coffee with 2 shots of espresso, and it is really what is required to get perky on a Saturday morning. So this is our proofer. We put all of our laminated dough and our cinnamon rolls in here to get them to rise perfectly in a short amount of time. And so those are going to start puffing up. Here is Lizzie beginning her icing journey that will last probably another 2 hours. She's starting with our classic vanilla cinnamon rolls, and we box those up in packs of 6 and 4. So here are 6 packs. And then here I am egg washing our jalapeno popper croissants. Nothing has been more life-changing than getting an egg wash sprayer. That thing is awesome because we have a lot of pastry, and you have to be very delicate when you egg wash delicate pastry. So a sprayer is awesome. Here we are piping in the whipped cream fresh on our croissants. And then here we are spraying again with our egg wash sprayer. These are our danishes. We probably will have about 10 pans of these. We fill most of them with a cream cheese filling that bakes into the Danish. And then some of these will be topped with blueberries. Some of them will be topped with crumb topping. And some of them won't be topped until after they come out of the oven. We are very busy with the assembly of all our baked goods on Saturday. That is why we need everything perfectly prepped all before Saturday morning. So all of our fruit is there to go. All of our fillings are made. All of our glazes are made. All of our dough is cut and put onto the pans. And here is all Lizzie's hard work on a table. And now that she's done with icing, she is on to glazing, and there is plenty of glazing to be done. 10 pans of danishes, 2 pans of bear claws, 2 pans of blackberry turnovers, and then we also have our scones. There is just so much to be done on Saturday, and it has been made so much easier now that we've learned to prep appropriately. Once everything is filled and glazed and boxed, we move on to designing our case and doing last minute touch-up. So this is actually a new coconut cake that Ellen has created. It was so delicious. That's what I had for breakfast. This is me putting powdered sugar on our cream croissants. These are kept in the fridge, so you saw us do them early in the morning, and then they go in the fridge, and then right before we open, we cover them in powdered sugar, and this really gives them a nice fresh look. Powdered sugar, you can tell if it's been on something for a long time, so adding it to a baked good really gives your customer a sense of how freshly prepared it really is. Maybe I'm biased, but I really don't think there's anything more beautiful than the sun shining in the window on to a table full of freshly baked pastry. And here Ellen is putting our case together. So we do have a display that's going to go in front, but sometimes it's just easier to set up our case and then put all our labels and then put our display case in there. So each week she does something a little bit different, and that's really just to figure out what works best and what maybe makes one item sell better one week or not. So we do try to keep track of what we do differently and how that is reflected in our sales. Our market table, or what we call our homestead table, is a new addition to the bakery, but it's something that we've dreamed of from the beginning. We always wanted to have a farmer's market kind of feel to our bakery. We dreamed that one day you'll be able to come in, get your bread for the week, your baked goods, your treats, but then also be able to get your fresh produce. And this is the first year that we've had enough yield from our garden to be able to do that. So I've really enjoyed just being able to look at this beautiful table full of fresh made jams, our eggs, our whipped tallow, and our produce from our garden. And then also we've been selling our sourdough for a while, but this is just an even more beautiful way to display our sourdough bread. And as I mentioned earlier, whenever we get really busy is usually when I'm not filming. So here's right before we open, and here's right after we close, and my brother's coming in to see what leftovers we have. So thank you for watching this week at the Flour Barn Bakery. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below. And also like and subscribe if you like this video. And be sure to check out the Flour Barn Homestead for more recipes and tips on baking. Thank you. Goodbye. This one right here.
Oh, okay. Hurry. I don't know if it's taking a picture or not.
It's okay.
Just give me a second.